Guys, today is not actually just about me. It's actually about you guys. You've come long and far right now to come and learn how to scale your business. You've come to learn exactly what you need to do to get to the next level with your business. And what I'm going to help you guys with is how to create a legally, yes, legally, a money printing machine with your business. Because content, offers, and sales, it's all part of scaling your online business. So right now, a lot of you guys are probably coaches, consultants, agency owners, or maybe one day you want to be those people. It all starts with having the right content and the right people to be able to match that with. So I'm going to walk you through exactly that process. So again, who here wants to make money for their business? Who here wants to generate money? Perfect. Who creates content to make money for their business? Okay. So by the end of this conversation, I'm going to show you exactly how to do this. But first, I'm going to start with a little story. So back in 2020, I was sitting in my little bedroom in Dublin, Ireland. So if you're wondering where this accent is from, it's an Irish accent. I was sitting inside, it was pouring rain, as it always is in Ireland. The rain was pelting in, and I was super anxious, super nervous, and honestly, I was super embarrassed. Because I'd been producing content for 6, 7, 8 months, not getting leads, not getting likes, not getting engagement. But I knew there had to be a better way. And every single day, I would check my Stripe account, and guess what it would say? 0. I was making no money. And it wasn't me, exactly. It was the system that I'd been applying. And that's why I want to show you guys today, that the system that you may be applying as well might not be generating revenue. But I can tell already by the room. Some of you guys are experienced. Some of you guys have so much knowledge to share. All you got to do is get it in the hands of the right people. And I'm going to show you the model that we use specifically to scale online businesses. And we call this the ecosystem model. More on that to come, of course. But you don't need to have more followers. You don't need to be posting 24/7. What we need to do is have the right content set up for you to be able to scale your business. Sound good? Sounds great. So, what makes me qualified to be able to help you guys today? Well, see this little nerd in the top left corner? That was me back in the day. 2020, 2021. I was on the back of my 3rd failed business. Imagine that. A young guy in his 20s, I had 3 failed businesses until I'd found content, and specifically the right content to create. Over the past couple of years, we've scaled my company Voix to multiple 7 figures a year, and that's not about me. We've also helped hundreds, if not thousands, of entrepreneurs scale to 6 figures, 7 figures, 8 figures. I don't take full responsibility, but some to even 9 figures for this. And now we're focused on creating the future of content and the future of sales with my software company, Aura, where we will be using AI to automate, systematize all of your sales process. Now, I did say one thing though. I said something called an ecosystem. A lot of you guys know the traditional funnel, and you're smart. When you see a traditional funnel, what do? You kind of run away. You kind of seen it. It's not Facebook in 2010 anymore, okay? People know what a funnel is. So we went 180 from this. And you're going to hear a lot of things in this conversation that maybe you haven't done before. And instead of building out a funnel, we focused on how could we scale businesses using an ecosystem model. And what that means is, instead of kicking someone through a funnel, we pull them into our ecosystem, and our free content is better than most people's paid content. I'll say that again. The free content we put out is better than most people's paid content. And to prove that's true, I'll be sharing with you guys even a free course that we have that's worth tens of thousands of dollars, okay? Because when you're producing content, honestly, right now, you're just 1 degree off. You're 1 shift off getting the leads you want, hitting the targets you want, hitting the milestones you want, and I'm going to walk you through that exact process. Part of the ecosystem has 3 distinct areas, and I'm going to go through each individual component. But part of this means that we can't keep one part separate, okay? All 3 have to work together for the ecosystem to really click, for us to get the right leads that we want, because this is the reality of online businesses right now. You have people teaching you how to go viral, which means we have a lot of broke creators, okay? We have people teaching you how to get likes, which don't equal cash, and we have lots of noise, right? You probably experienced this, right? You open up Instagram, and you're like, ooh, there's just so much noise when you see this. So instead, we stop that process, we stop the one funnel process, we stop the one system process, and instead, we build this ecosystem. And the first part of making money with content starts with your offer. And the reason why it starts with your offer is if you don't have your offer dialed in, what are you creating content on? It's a very interesting observation if you don't have this dialed in. And I'll look at this through my example. When we started in 2020, 2021, we were helping people grow online. That is an arbitrary goal, okay? I was a struggling six-figure creator. Then we started solving an actual painkiller, which was helping people scale and get more leads. And then it was only until we started creating a bleeding neck problem that we were able to truly, truly scale our business, okay? Because the offer we want it to be very, very straightforward and simple, which is answering this one mental model. What is the one painful problem that you solve for a specific user that is easy to find online? Let's slow down and think about that. Because we don't want to create an offer for someone who's not even accessible on the internet. And I've seen it, don't worry. You know, someone that works in like Alaska, okay? They're not accessible. Equally, we don't want to solve a vitamin, a nice to have. We want to solve a painful problem that someone can't avoid. And the reason why we want to solve this is because people run from pain versus running towards pleasure. We all know what it feels like, you know, to have nothing. We know that feeling. It's a visceral feeling. We don't know the future state. We don't have the actual future state painted out. That's not something that we actually have. So we need to understand what is that painful problem, and let's take a step back. Let's slow down for a sec. Look at your offer right now. If you guys are an agency, coach, consultant, how do you turn a vitamin into a painkiller? So again, our business Vox helps companies scale with content. How we did this is by looking at the antithesis of this. If they don't use content, and if they don't scale, they're going to be out of business. So that's a bleeding neck problem that we can solve at scale for people. On top of that, we need to look at the actual easy to find audience. So when we combine the bleeding neck problem with the easy to find audience, we want to pick our platforms. Now, for us, always, we've had YouTube as the awareness platform. YouTube is how you get known, okay? Then we need a conversion platform, which we're going to use Instagram, or we might even use LinkedIn, okay? Pick your poison. Either or is going to be super valuable for you in the beginning. And lastly, most importantly, we need to make it a no-brainer solution, because we don't want to just sell on emotion. We want to make sure that the offer we have clearly, and I mean clearly, is a no-brainer solution. That someone says, you know what, Darren, this makes sense. Let's move forward. Let's take the next step of working together and really like smashing out this next season of work together. So, take a second. Let's slow down and look at the problem you have right now. What is that one painful problem for your specific user that you can actually help and you can overcome? And think about this, because this is going to inform the next point, which is all that we need, which is the content. Because once the offer is super dialed in, we know that we have the content that we need to create. And again, the big thesis of this is you can have the best offer in the world, but if you don't have enough traffic, it will go nowhere. And we've all seen this, right? Who here has had a great new idea, and then the great new idea goes nowhere? It's not an idea problem or an offer problem, it's a content problem. And when you look at the constraint, is it an offer problem? Is it a content problem? We can then make assumptions and we can make changes based on this, okay? And the first thing we need to do is look at content from a sales assets perspective. Content is not designed to make you go famous. It's not designed so that you can stroke your ego. It's designed as a pre-sale asset. Every single piece of content that we create is a sales asset that we work interactively with so that we can give in the hands of prospects. Because just think about the workflow for 1 second. Someone comes in to work with you, they see the assets, and they see, is this person able to solve my problem? And it's just a simple question. Because people are busy. They're so focused on their day-to-day, they open up their phone, they see content, they see, is this actually helpful for me? And is this what I need to make? Now, at this point, you're probably saying, what type of content do we need to make? I'm glad you asked. Because the most important piece of content you can create is your origin story. Your origin story is the reason why someone works with you. Let me say it again. This is the exact reason why someone works with you. It's not your funnel. It's not your 7-step process. It's none of that stuff. It is the person that you are, the person that you're becoming, the identity that you want to become. And we can document this down. If you're not experienced, great. I'm super happy to hear that. Because your origin story is ground zero. You're just out there producing content on YouTube. You're documenting the process. If you're someone who's experienced, even better. We can detail that down, and what does the origin story closely look like? So let's look at it deeper. Within the origin story, we have 3 different components, okay? The first is your mission. The mission is, what do you do on a day-to-day basis? Are you truly in the weeds of solving the problem that you say? Because the problem that we defined in the offer is the mission that you actually align to. Do you wake up in the morning and actually go full speed at it? Is this what we're seeing in your content? Are you someone that truly wants to solve this at scale? What is your vision? What do you want to see differently in the world? I truly believe that you can scale any online business with content. It is my highest point of values and vision, which is literally why I'm here today. We've done this hundreds, if not thousands of times over, and it is the most applicable thing. And lastly is our values. Values is the reason why people would actually want to come and work with you. So remember when you guys were in school, maybe quite some time ago, and the teacher would give out to you for having all these weird little interests and habits. They're great. Keep those habits. Document those weird little side things you do. You could be, let's say, married, you might have kids, you might be into triathlons, you might be like me and have 5 different dogs. We want to document all our values and show that in our content. Because in 2025, people are sick to death of traditional funnels. They're sick to death of seeing the same thing over and over again. If you are obsessed about something, people love people who are obsessed. In a world of mediocrity, people love people who are obsessed. Let me tell you a story about this. Last year, I was signing this multi-year, multi-6-figure deal with a company, and we had to do it in person in Dubai. And, old school, back in the day, we used to do things in person, right? And I'm sitting at this table with this woman, and she's signing the contract. And she said to me, before I decided to move ahead with you, I watched all 44 minutes of your origin story. I politely responded, and that's exactly why it's there. Because she saw me for who I am. Does she like me? Does she hate me? Two easy questions to answer, right? But she sees the person for who they are. And that's exactly what you want to do in your origin story. You want to detail why it is you is a person that loves what you do and how you can help people achieve that actual goal. Because when this is done at a high level, all of this framework makes you a category of 1. Because think about it. If you guys have coaching business and agency, a lot of the stuff you do is quite similar, okay? Quite similar. And because it's quite similar, the differentiator is the person. I'll say that again. The differentiator is the person. So the person that you show up for is actually what they buy. They buy your product, they buy your service, they get involved. So we want to showcase that, and we want to showcase our values. And I even see a few people nodding because they feel like that, right? So, quick question. When you guys are creating content, does anyone feel like it's not authentic? It's not aligned to them? Okay? So some of you guys, you feel it's not aligned. The reason why that's not converting is because it's robotic. And people are seeing content that's not authentic. And because it's not authentic, they know that they can't take the next step with you. That's the issue. They're not seeing you as the next person to go and work with. And it's a small shift we need to do. We need to make this real, simple, authentic, and break it down. Because when our origin story is dialed in, the rest of the stuff is easy. Because of course we need to teach people. Of course we need to help people. That's a non-negotiable. But how are we going to help them? We designed a specific way to create content called objection handling content. So you know when you guys sit on a sales call and someone says like, oh, I don't know what the service is, I need to see more and everything. Every single objection we document and turn into content. Every single objection. So any objections that pop up, we can document them and we can create videos of them. We showcase specifically how you can actually solve each individual problem through your content. Because the workflow is very simple. Let's say a prospect connects with you. They want to buy your service. And then they don't buy. They go back to Instagram. What do they see? Every one of their objections handled in content. And they just think, damn, I still haven't solved my problem. Because the prospect will very rarely change, and we'll come back to this later. The prospect will largely stay the same, but the content we create can overcome this again and again and again. How do we do this? So we take sales calls, we speak to prospects, and we talk to our customers, okay? And the second we speak to our customers, they come back with these objections. I need to see more testimonials. Who's heard that objection? Right? Everyone hears that objection. The content we create takes care of this. It handles all the testimonials. We have content that specifically answers these questions. What about case studies? I quite literally create content with my clients as a case study. So we'll do a training together and I'll document that. What about all the other things where they have partner objections? We can handle all the partner objections actually in the content and use it as part of the call funnel. So when someone books on a call with you, we showcase specifically why now is the best time to take action. And think about it, my favorite objection, right? What do you need to think about? They've been consuming content for 6, 12, 24 months, and now is the time to take action. Now is the time to take action. Because what happens is, we document every single piece of content. We make sure that it shows up in the right way, and then we pull this into our long-form content. Every single YouTube video is a combination of just hitting that same message. What is that painful problem that we solve at scale for a specific user? And my honest advice is speak to someone that you would love to be a client but hasn't made the jump yet. Why have they not made that single jump? Create that in the content. YouTube is a one-to-one platform. It's a one-to-one platform at scale. So think about the prospect who you would love to work with. You'd love to work with them. But there's something missing. And we document that. We document this in our short-form content. We bring all of this up in our short-form content. And then we bring this into our LinkedIn content. And for people that want to truly optimize, when we're running short-form content, coupled up with LinkedIn content, this is where we capture all of the TAM. Because the challenge for you guys right now is you might be selling one offer to one specific avatar. You now have the opportunity to sell multiple offers to the entire market. And that's what we want to achieve. It's not about done with you, done for you, DIY. It's the problem that we solve, documented in the content, and someone literally says, hey Darren, can you help me with this? Sure as hell we can. Because all of the email flows, all of the content that we create overcomes these objections time and time again. And let me tell you a story. This was me. I used to not have any of this content, and I used to be constantly met with resistance. A ton of our clients are the exact same position. They would put out content and it would go nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. Because it isn't coupled up with tactical frameworks and tactical content. Because A lot of you guys who are super experienced could be very high on competency, but low on warmth, which is why you don't have your origin story content, which is why people don't feel you. They don't feel you in the content. Some of you guys are very warm, but then you don't have tactical content to support that message. We need the yin and yang, the positive and the negative. And we do this through our content. And how we do this is staying top of mind, right? Whether you're a coach or an agency owner, the trends that you're displaying is the most important part. What's happening in the market? What's happening with AI? How are you using AI? How are you adapting it? What are all the frameworks you're using? And this is when you're introducing your mechanism. People will buy your mechanism once they see it detailed in your content. And you can do this through a few ways, but every single piece of content should just be your frameworks over and over again. And then we look at the tools you're using, whether you're using AI or using more tools, as well as the tactics, okay? Because all of this is the biggest thing. This is the biggest thing to document, and even to show you guys, we have a 3-hour free course that we've put out. And this is a full course that does all of our model. It showcases exactly how we help people, and we gave it for free. We gave it for free to the entire internet. And the reason why we did it is because we build so much reciprocity with people that we're able to give them so much, and in return, one, they're super grateful, and two, eventually they'll want to come and work with you. So I want to actually pause here, and if you guys actually want to see that free course, if you take a quick image, share it to your story on Instagram, tag myself, Darren Lee, and obviously SVO, we will send you that full 3-hour free course, because I want to show you proof in the pudding how we actually do this, because this is exactly it. This is the only thing that you actually need to truly document. Because every single time, we only have to do 3 different things. We got to make sure that we're constantly hitting our origin story. And the way you think about this is you can say the same story from a different angle. So I started in my bedroom, but I also started my entrepreneurial journey 16 years ago. So at 16. So there's a whole different origin story. We want to use the right origin story in the right context of where you are right now in your journey. So we're telling that story over and over again. I would put this on IG. I would put this in all your email flows. I would put this on YouTube as a pinned post. I would even start using this in DMs. So if someone comes into your world and they're like, hey Darren, I like what you're doing. Can you tell me a bit more about what you do? We send them the origin story video. And the reason we send them that video is because we're trying to bring up the likability. Because if someone's likable, you're just going to want to consume more of their content. And that's the biggest thing. You may have heard the phrase, your business is a reflection of you. Well, your clients are also a reflection of you. And with your content and your origin story, you attract what you are. It's like a magnetic energy. You pull in those people. So if my story resonates with people, they want to stick with you and stay with you. And yeah, sure, they'll listen to the tactics. And sure, they're going to listen to some of the objections and everything. But this is a secondary effect. This is what happens afterwards. One thing I want to touch on. I did say there's a third point to the ecosystem. And this point is the most important point. Because you can have the best offer in the world, the best content in the world, but if you don't have this last point, it actually all falls down. Can anyone guess what it is? It's a sales process. And the reason why the sales process is so important is because if you get all this attention through organic content, and if you can't close them, it's respectfully all been for nothing. So we need to be able to bring up the sales process and really, really dial this in. The more you can dial this in, the more you can switch your brain into you run a sales organization, not just a content business. Honestly, the more money you're going to make. Because back in 2021, when I was taking these sales calls, I would have a few things happen. I'd have people come onto my calendar, okay, book onto my calendar. Lots of these guys, honestly, wouldn't even show up. And then when they did show up, I kind of wished some of them didn't even show up, to be honest. And they would say all the typical things like, I don't trust you, your offer is a copycat offer, There's 1,000 other people that are similar to you. Why should I work with you? So when we really dialed in the sales process was when we could easily turn content into clients. And we've signed over 160 high-ticket clients in 2025, which is a client every second day as of right now. And it's because we have the last final piece documented, which is the sales process. And the good news is, I'm going to show you exactly how you can do it. Because this is it. These are the only numbers that you will ever need to track to be able to improve your sales. And the reason why is because it becomes conscious. I honestly believe that people aren't good at sales because they're scared of it. Just like I was. I was taking those Zoom calls and I was scared to death that someone would actually join the call. But it was only until I started to look at the numbers, specifically how many calls we were booking, our show rate, our close rate, and the cash collected, that I could see it for what it is. A lot of you guys might be into the gym. If you just track your workouts, you'll make more progress because it becomes an unconscious behavior that's now conscious. And this is exactly what we want to do with our sales process. And this is exactly what we're cracking with our AI software for sales, is that how to make this as easy for you as possible, that you're able to track, automate, and improve everything as if you're a $1 million a month sales coach at the best coaching business in the entire world. Remember when I talked about the offer and I said how important the offer is? Well, I'll show you exactly how important that is. Because the amount of calls that you book in a month is directly correlated to how good your offer is. Because if the offer is super dialed in, people will want to get on a call with you. They'll want to. They'll see the need. They're like, oh my God, I need to solve this problem. Let's solve this. So they'll book calls. Okay? They'll book calls. But it's only until we have the second process here, which is our origin story, that people will show up. Okay? Thankfully, I don't take too many sales calls anymore. My team do. But people want to come and speak to me because they see the origin story, they see our offer, and they want to learn more, which is great. But I just don't want people showing up on a call, right? We want people closing. So I talked about the objection handling content, which is exactly what handles close rate. Let's walk through this again. With the book calls, that's all to do with how much throughput you can get with your offer. How good is that offer? The show rate is directly correlated to how good your brand is. If the sales process is dialed in, if people feel like that you're giving them something through reciprocity, they're going to want to get on that call. We book about 150 calls a month, and we have a 75% show rate. We also have a 40% close rate because this process down here on the objection handling is so razor tight that everything is even just completely documented. And all of this leads directly into our tactical content because people come to a sales call and they don't ask, what do you do? They come to a sales call and they say, when are the coaching calls? How can we get started? Because they've seen it over and over and over again. So again, the mental reframe here is you do not run a coaching business, you run a sales organization that coaches people. Because when these numbers are super dialed in and you can see them from what they are, you're just going to kill it. Like, respectfully, you're going to kill it. Because that was our exact scenario. We were behind on this stuff. We didn't know the numbers. We got our business together. And as a result, we were able to really combine this down. Let's talk about the sales call. Who here is scared of sales calls? Come on. People are always scared of sales calls. The problem. Your calls need to find the problem. Your offer has already solved it. You walk through a simple process with your prospects to see how you can solve that problem with them. You want to be the strategic advisor. You want to be a cashier. You want people to come and work with you and you're just collecting cash. You're not a salesperson, you're a cashier. Because the content you create pulls people in. Then we have the pain. I talked about earlier how people run from pain versus running towards pleasure. The pain is anecdotal on a sales call. We can look at your case-by-case scenario and see, okay, in the context of what we do, here is your specific pain, and here's how we would solve it. Does that sound good to you? Of course, they want to solve their pain. And then we introduce the process. And what I like to say about the process is that if I could teach you guys how to get leads by licking the window, I guarantee you someone would do it. Because the process is irrelevant. Your mechanism, it's irrelevant. As long as it solves the pain and the problem, that's all that matters. Ads, organic, funnel, AI, whatever. Doesn't matter. It's just the process that they need to go through to get there. Let me give you an analogy. If you want to lose weight and you're committed to losing weight, whether you use the Stairmaster or the treadmill, it doesn't matter. If you do it, you're just going to lose weight. And the last point to here, when we have the process super dialed in, is going to be price. Price is also irrelevant. That may shock some of you. But price is irrelevant because when the problem is solved and you know that you can solve that problem for someone, they're going to find a way to pay. And what I mean by that is they're going to find a way to solve that problem. Because if they're not able to solve the problem on their own, they know that they've come to you as the trusted advisor, as the person who can truly help them, who's truly committed, who's actually there in the depths with them every single day. Price irrelevant. B2C, B2B, whatever you insert any sort of business model. I've sold $250,000 on a sales call to someone in B2B. I've also sold $2,000 to B2C. Doesn't matter. Same process. It's the same process. And this is where our stance on sales is completely different than the traditional sales advice. Because long sales cycles, honestly, we can bring them down into a month. This 9-month sales cycle thing, down to a month. 2 call closes, 1 call close. Because all the pre-material does the selling. And this is what we call pre-selling. That's the whole idea. Now, at this point, you're probably thinking, all right, I get it. I got to create content. But what do I do with the leads? When they come in, what am I going to do with them? Not everyone is prepared to send you $10,000 on a Zoom link straight away. Let's be clear. So what we do is we do this thing called pipeline selling. If you don't have a background in sales, don't worry about it. All this means is anyone who's booked a call and hasn't sent you money on the internet, we just speak to 45 days later. And we just say this one line. And you can take this down, which says, hey Darren, I know we chatted in May about problem X. Have you solved that problem? What do you think the response is going to be? No. Because people don't inherently solve their problems unless they're provoked to make an actual change until they're kicked into gear, and a lead will always stay in motion unless they're promoted to do anything different. So our job is just to create enough awareness with content, enough lead flow with content, to be able to create an ecosystem for people to come and want to work with us. And this is why you don't even need to get it right sometimes. When you have an ecosystem, your margin for error is actually pretty high. You can make a few mistakes and still hit your revenue goals. Because we've had many people hit 6, 7, and 8 figures from just being able to go in and hit pipeline. So every 45 days, we go back, we reconnect, and we want to really feel the vibe of our leads. And what I like to say is sales has an energy. It has a rhythm. It has like a feel, and has a feel and a presence. And you know if your offer is good, these leads are just not ready to take the jump yet. And it's fine. Because respectfully, I have a ton of stuff I need to do that I'm not doing. Because I'm getting ready for this event. So it happens. Life happens. Life gets in the way. Don't take things personally. Contact them in 45 days. And then we look at this interesting approach called the theory of constraints. Because once this is designed, we can find out pretty quickly where the constraint is in your business. Is it in the offer? Is it scalable, repeatable, and enjoyable? Does it meet these 3 criteria? If it doesn't, you have an offer problem. It's like playing a video game. If you can't complete level 1, you can't complete level 50. So you have to solve this offer issue before you do anything else. It is the most important thing. Simple signs that your offer is still not there yet is if you can't sign 10 clients in a day, it's not good enough. You need to have it repeatable, scalable, and enjoyable. Or you can't 10x the revenue from a client. If it's an agency, we could introduce performance bonuses. I've literally done both. I have my own agency still to this day, so I know the exact vibe with unscalable offers. And then with the content, it's very easy to see where the issue is with the content once the offer's dialed in. Because it's very simple. Do you have a volume issue? Do you have a quality issue? Do you have both? Probably, right? You probably have both. You probably have a volume issue and you probably have a quantity issue. And that's okay because we're all not experts. I'm actually not inherently a marketer. I'm actually inherently a behind the scenes guy. As you can tell, I love the detail. And that's where I'm naturally like at. I've had to learn this stuff. So you can learn it. You can learn it. It's just a mental reframe. Where is the constraint? Where do we need to get help on? And the last stage of this is the sales process. The sales process is very simple. Once we can see the numbers very clearly, you can then go in and identify, all right, okay, we have a few issues here. Because if the call booking is down, we can ramp the content, adjust the offer. If the show rate is down, we can improve the content. If the close rate is down, we can coach the closer or coach the founder, plus improving the content. And if your cash collected is low, it's a leading indicator as to where you're going in Q4. And I try to run our media company and education business like a Fortune 500 company. I am in the detail of the data all the time because it gets the most out of the business. Now, you don't need to run your business like a Fortune 500 company, let's be clear. But what you do need to do is have a hold of the data. Because if you don't control it, your business will control you. And I've seen this over and over again. Over and over again. Okay, at this point, you might have some objections. What if you don't have any time? I don't have time to do this. Under the theory of constraints, why we work full spectrum with clients and for ourselves is because we have to solve each individual problem. So if you're low on time, look at the constraint you have. And it should be obvious, like what's glaring, like where's the red signal that's firing that there's a problem? Is there a specific problem that you need to solve? Because that usually is the leading indicator. And respectfully, truthfully, something for us is ads. We just never really cracked it. But I know we're going to dedicate Q4 to getting it right. Because all I can do is make an educated decision where my energy should be focused as an entrepreneur. And we can go full scale from offers, content, and sales process. Or your niche is different. As I said, B2B, B2C, door-to-door, it's all the same stuff. We need to have the right volume that's coming in with the right content. That's the most important part. Because you can access your ICP, you're just not accessing your ICP. This is a big change. Because if you think that they're inaccessible, well, it's an issue with your offer if they're truly not even there. But they usually are there. It's usually a marketing problem. And this is what we need to adjust. Let's take a step back. What I really want to help you guys with, for my last couple of minutes with you guys, is making this as impactful as possible. I want you guys to go away from this with the next 6 months just really, really ahead of you. Because you just got to think about it. Imagine for a second, we have right content coming out, okay? We have revenue that you can predict. You can actually see it. You can visually see what you're going to make. And you have an ecosystem that you can control. How would that make you feel? Because for me, that allowed me to sleep easy at night, drive around a Bali on my motorbike every once in a while. It allowed me to take the pressure off because I can control my business. My business does not control me. I have an idea of the constraints, and I have an idea where I need to put my focus into. Because here's what I need you to do. I want you specifically to find that bleeding neck problem right now. Take a step back and look at that issue. Then I want you to look at what is the content system you want to pick up. You gotta look at YouTube, and you gotta look at a secondary platform for conversion. We run the DMs hard off of the secondary platform, whether that's Instagram or whether that's off of LinkedIn. And looking at specifically, where can I brush up on my sales process? Can I build a simple sales process of videos that I send prospects beforehand, or any more minor details that I can really get into the detail with them? And that's the most important part. This is your 6-month journey. This is the journey that I've been on for half a decade. Now, I will be around to go into more details on this. Myself and my team are going to be through that door after this, and we will be there to actually walk through specifically how we can help you on these things. And I'm just happy to help you guys. I'm going to be around for a few hours. But before I finish up, I really want to emphasize that back when I started, I was truly 1 degree off. Just one small, minor degree off. And then things started to click. The leads came in, the clients came in, the renewals came in, the referrals came in. And you may be feeling that right now. It's not your fault for following some outdated strategy, but it is your responsibility to fix it. And now is the time to fix it. Thank you very much.